Hi, welcome to this edition of Desert Ministries Updates. I'm Paul Falkowski, the Executive Director of Desert Ministries, and seated here with me is Heather Holmes, Volunteer Coordinator of the Good Samaritan Society-Millard here in Omaha, Nebraska. And I've invited Heather on the program today to talk about Desert Ministries from an outsider's point of view. And certainly Heather's no outsider when it comes to long-term care, but she has been through our training program and she understands our mission, and we thought it would be great to have someone from the long-term care community come in and talk about it from that point of view. So welcome, Heather.
Thanks, Paul.
Great. Well, let's get started right away because we have a lot to talk about. And first part of this interview, I wanted to sort of direct it to the staff and talk to them about what it is that I'm trying to do. And I think, you know, when you heard about Desert Ministries and we were trying to provide trained volunteers that were ready to hit the ground running, what was your initial reaction to that?
Initially, I was very hesitant. I thought, would the training course be comprehensive enough and provide all the information that a volunteer needs before going into a nursing home setting?
Right. And I always wondered, did you feel like I was encroaching on your turf? Did you feel threatened in some way?
Not at all. I didn't. I really appreciate community support, and I know a lot of activity directors, you're also the volunteer coordinator, so you don't have time to train your volunteers as much as you want. So I think it's a great idea and something that's really needed.
Right. Okay. Well, now that you've now that you've attended the Desert Ministries training program, what would you tell other volunteer coordinators and activity directors about Desert Ministries and their training?
Well, Desert Ministries is such a solid organization. I really feel that they're committed and passionate to providing quality trained volunteers with our elderly in the community. So that's why I'm such a big promoter of the service, because it's just amazing. The training program is the most professional and comprehensive training program available in Omaha for volunteers. It truly shows the volunteer every aspect that they'll need in a nursing home setting. And even as a experienced, rec therapist, volunteer coordinator, activity director working in long-term care, I gain knowledge from the course. And I would tell all the activity directors, volunteer coordinators, send your volunteers to Desert Ministries. They'll come back to their communities ready to hit the ground running and provide excellent volunteer service.
Well, for me that's really good to hear, because we've spent a lot of time researching and asking volunteer coordinators like yourself, what do you want your volunteers to know? What are the things that you're looking for in a volunteer? We put that all together. It took us the better part of last year to do that. It was a little scary to close the program down for almost a year and then bring it back up again, but so I'm very pleased to hear that. And then as far as Desert Ministries itself, the volunteers that you have had contact with, that's been pretty much a positive experience?
It has been positive, because I found if someone's willing to commit to the 2-day training program, they want to volunteer. And that's something hard as a volunteer coordinator, is people who call and say, I really want to volunteer, I want to help your residents. They come once, and then you get an email saying, my life got too busy, or I can't do it. So it really raises the bar for the level of commitment with your volunteers.
Right, and I think that, as I've thought through this, there's nothing wrong with somebody walking in to a nursing home, they want to volunteer, and things like that happen. But I think what we're trying to create here is just what you're talking about. Somebody that we're going to screen, we're going to really test their commitment.
Absolutely.
And the 2-day training program does that. It also equips them, but it tests them.
Absolutely.
To see if they're committed. And we just graduated another class of volunteers. And we had the activities director come this time at the end of the training to make that transition.
Nice.
And the look on her face when she walked in and saw all these people, and I said, here they are. I mean, it was just amazing to see the expression on her face. It was like, oh my gosh, guys, for real.
It's amazing. It's like a gift, You're really giving me this group of volunteers who are committed and passionate and want to serve. It's great.
Well, let's talk for a minute then to the volunteer. Somebody that might be thinking about volunteering in the nursing home. And they've heard about Desert Ministries, they've heard about what we're doing. Do nursing homes really need volunteers?
Absolutely. Absolutely we do. There's only so much time in a day that staff can get to all the residents, One thing I love about volunteers is it brings the community into the resident's home, and it keeps them connected with society.
Boy, that's really important.
It's huge. It's huge because they can lose touch so easily, you know. And volunteers also, they're not a caregiver, they're not staff, they're a different person coming in, so they're able to connect on a different level with the resident and provide just a different feeling and touch and just companionship that the staff would love to do, but you know, sometimes you're just limited.
And the staff appreciate that.
Oh, yes, they do. You know, and when residents get volunteers, they're less depressed, their medications work better, they're more active, they're more social. So that makes all the clinical staff happy, for sure.
So there's some real help there for the staff.
Huge help, huge help.
Really. People may hesitate to volunteer at a nursing home because they have these negative images of, I don't know what, you know, I guess it's because when you hear about a nursing home in the news, it's because something's happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's really the exception to the rule, right?
That's what I've found.
So what are some of the stereotypes that people have, and what would you tell people how to get over them? Yeah.
Well, I think the number one stereotype would be nursing homes are a depressing place where people go to die. I mean, that's what I always hear. And it's really... the face of nursing home care is changing drastically. There's a huge, huge push for resident-directed care where the resident makes all the decisions about how their care is given. And for some residents, it is their last home before death. But there's a lot of the residents where it's just a short-term stay for rehabilitation, and then they go back into the community too. So I just think the old stereotype and idea of nursing homes is changing completely. It's not the clinical institutional setting. It's a home setting. It's a community setting, wellness.
And really, just to plug Good Sam, since you're here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that, you know, of all the facilities, you do a really great job of creating that home-like atmosphere within the facility. And again, that your motto, you know, how you say it.
Oh, yeah. The mission of the Evangelical Lutheran Good Samaritan Society is to provide shelter and supportive services to the elderly and others in need, believing that in Christ's love, everyone is someone. And we really believe that. Right. You know, it doesn't matter your status, your pay source. You know, the elderly are such a blessing and they're such a gift in our community that we're happy to serve them.
Well, and that brings me to the next question, really. And, you know, why should someone consider volunteering in a nursing home?
I think volunteering in a nursing home, even working there, really puts life into perspective. It shows what matters most in life. The volunteer will see that even the smallest gesture towards the resident can make their entire day. It really just, the volunteer is able to take home a sense of accomplishment and also a feeling of giving back to society. The volunteer will gain so much knowledge just listening to the residents' stories. And
I guess that's, for me, that's my favorite part of the stories.
It is. It's the best. Anything that you've been through, they've been through it.
I mean, over the last 20 years, I could write volumes about the things that people have said. Just amazing things. And stories, people that I've met. And I'm sure you've met people as well that just... you can almost hardly believe what you're hearing.
Yeah, it's amazing what they've been through and, you know, where they fit into history, too.
I really want to highlight the idea, too. I really do think it does put a perspective on life. You know, in the one sense, you know, people, we get so caught up in our daily activities, our work, our children, and families, and time is just flying by. And going into the nursing home and spending that hour or so with an older adult, really, in my mind, it's a great pause. It's a great time to stop and reflect. And that older person, this is what I love about this work, is that they kind of turn the table on you. You've gone in there to be a friend to them. They become a mentor to you.
They really do.
And they really help you see. I know one fellow said, you know, I hug my wife a little more. Talk to my kids a little different. You know, and I think they really bring, a fullness to life that always there. Well, Heather, I want to thank you. This is just a little clip, and maybe we'll get to do a series of these. I'd love to do that, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And but anyway, I hope now that you will feel free to visit our website and desertministries.org. Look through the website, read about some of the things that are going on. We have some videos there from other volunteers and staff who are connected with Desert Ministries. And then I would ask you to seriously consider volunteering, becoming a volunteer. And the training program, now, I just had a thought before we go.
Okay, sure.
The training, maybe they're a little scared. They're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like I'm joining the Marines here or something. Would you describe the training program as mind-blowing or heartbreaking or difficult?
No, very educational. I mean, it's a great 2 days. You learn a lot. There's a lot of discussion. It's very laid back. You know, it's nothing. You're not pressured into anything. You know, and then you set up how much you want to volunteer. You know,
right.
So it's really individual.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll check next week for updates from Desert Ministries. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.